Hi everyone, today is my third day. It is January 4th, and I guess I just wanted to go ahead and let you all know what's going on or what's happening today. So, apparently, my daughter told me that she's going to go ahead and move out and she's going to take the baby with her. I mean, obviously, which is her son. Um, and I feel like I knew that was coming. It wasn't like it was a surprise to me in any way because that's just the way she operates. Is if she doesn't like what I have to say, of course, I'm always the bad guy, and so therefore she needs to get away from the bad guy. And it's so funny because sometimes I think about this of like, I have been the only one in her corner her whole entire life. Now, I will go ahead and give you a little background in regards to her father, or actually to my children's father, because they all have the same father. Is that I met him when I was 17 years old. Again, I'm 44 years old currently. We immediately started dating the week after I turned 18, and he was 22, turning 23, because my birthday is in July and his birthday is in August. So we're basically 6 years apart. Um, Anywho, I was very young. Um, and I didn't really have a lot of, exposure to dating or, you know, relationships in general, because you generally don't at that age. Um, I will go ahead and give you a little bit of a background information about me is that my mom grew up in Cambodia, and she came from a very affluent family. Her family, well, basically her grandfather, my great grandfather, owned like 25% of Phnom Penh back then. She is born in 1950, and they're it's not like here in the US where they pay for school and stuff like that, or the government pays for school or you get free schooling. It's, you have to pay for school, and especially for girls that was not a thing that it just wasn't really a thing back then. Girls were mainly got married and their job was to cook, clean, have babies, stuff like that. And it was different for my mom because my grandfather really supported that. And especially during that time, I know you're not supposed to say it, but it was a very underdeveloped country. So, societal things were just different. So she, anyways, went to school, went to college actually, became a professor at a college and stuff like that. But of course, the war came in the 70s, the Khmer Rouge. Because my mom came from a very affluent family, her entire immediately family was killed. I believe she has a few cousins left, but obviously they're getting older, so a few have passed away. So I think she maybe only have like less than a handful of cousins left. Um, I was born in a refugee camp in Indonesia, came to the US when I was 3 months old. Um, my mother, I don't know how, but I always knew this was that my mother was raped by a soldier in the camps, and that's kind of how I came about. Um, so I always kind of knew that I was not wanted, or maybe I just felt unwanted, probably a little bit of both. Um, but my mom obviously did escape a lot of violence, a lot of trauma, watching her family get killed, especially her younger brother, as she was in hiding with my brother and my sister. I have an older brother and an older sister. Was very, very traumatic for her, to say the least, capital T trauma, for sure. And, anyways, my mom had a lot of trauma growing up. She still does. And I want to caveat number one, I love my mother very, very much. I don't blame her for anything. In fact, I think she's probably the strongest person I know. Really embodies a loving mother in the way that she knows how. And I think all, Asian kids will understand that. Anywho, as we were growing up, my mom really was trying to figure it out in the best way possible. She, married a few times and it didn't work out, and sometimes there was some violence in the home, sometimes there wasn't. There was a lot of arguing, breaking of things, stuff like that. We moved around a lot. As I was a kid, I think I ended up going to I would say 4 elementary schools, 3 junior highs, and I actually ended up going to 1 high school. But even with that all being said, and my mom's different relationships and stuff like that, it passed down a lot of trauma to myself. I was emotionally, physically, and mentally abused by a boyfriend that she had. And it really, anyways, shaped the way that my mind was forming and what I thought love was, and especially feeling so unwanted as a child. I confused desire for love, or what I thought was love in my immature mind. So, anyways, back to the story how I met her father. I was working at a communication company with pagers and cell phones and stuff like that, and that's where I met him there. Anyways, we started dating immediately after I turned 18. Really was hard. I mean, there was just so many red flags there, but I just needed to feel love so badly that I was honestly really taking crumbs that he was giving me and making it more into what it was, and obviously not receiving what I really deserved, because honestly I didn't think I deserved very much. Anywho, their father, him and I were married for almost 16 years in total. Throughout the relationship, there was a lot of gaslighting, a lot of things being my fault. I was too sensitive. I was too drama. I was too, I was just so hurt, and everything was just always my fault. And I really believed it. And I was trying to make these changes, trying to be the person that he wanted me to be, but I was never going to go ahead and make it because, he always moved the goalpost for me. And nothing was ever enough. And just when I thought I was going to score, he moved the goalpost again. So I don't necessarily want to say a narcissist because I feel like the word is used so much, but along those lines. So you can go ahead and figure that out. But, anyways, when I told him that I wanted a divorce, he made it difficult in every single way humanly possible. I was trying to go ahead and do it on the cheap end, and I was trying to talk to him and kind of like be like, hey, let's just do it ourselves. If we can go ahead and come up with a way that we can make this work and be somewhat friendly, the easier it would be for the children. And his response to me was always take me to court. And he has taken me to court several times along the way. And honestly, in 2025, I believe like in March or April, or maybe in May, he took me to court for spousal support because I do take care of the children in every way, financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And he does not provide a single dime for them. But anyways, and supposedly I do have child support, but honestly, it's not real child support because as soon as I told him that I wanted a divorce, he then immediately quit his job. And in California, unfortunately, the court system moves slow. So by the time we ended up going to court for our first hearing for the divorce, I believe it was already like a year later, and he hadn't been working for a year. So that kind of threw my claim out the window of saying like, hey, like he needs to go ahead and give me some type of monetization, monetization, some sort of monetary value for helping support the kids. But anyways, I did take him to court, and of course he had no income, so I'm supposed to be getting $400 a month, which is, let's be honest, nothing, especially in this economy. But however, he tried to go ahead and stop that because the meter's running on him. So, anyways, when I had told him that I no longer wanted to be married, he really took it out on our daughter abruptly, where he stopped supporting her in her sports. And at the time she was playing travel ball, stopped practicing with her, really just stopped showing up for her, and kind of was gaslighting her in the things that I was doing, saying that I was a prostitute for money and different things like that. And it really, it really makes children question of like, why would my father be lying to me? And it really kind of had a issue within our relationship from that point on. So, hence why drugs and alcohol came into play for her and different things like that. And I just am giving a background, I guess, information for myself. But that is part of the story, and I guess part of my story is I feel a lot of guilt in this whole thing. I feel a lot of guilt because I should have done things a lot better. I should have been healing myself, more importantly, instead of, again, trying to find ways to make myself feel better with other people, other things, and different things like that. But the guilt of being a good parent, the guilt of being a good grandmother, I feel scared a lot. And it's not a good feeling to have. I worry. And that's not a good thing either. For my health, for stress, for different things like that. And I'm trying to look for a silver lining somewhere. I just don't know it yet, and maybe that's just part of it, is just going through it to get to the other side. And maybe that's where the silver lining is. I don't know, but I guess that's the way my life has always worked, is that I just often need to get through it. So hopefully you are too.